When you hold the archetype as High Priestess in the governance system, your impact and influence will follow you beyond your lifetime. Not only that, you will be known within certain circles of being the intelligence behind every great ruler. Hi, I'm Naomi Latayo, the Brand Priestess, and I guide founders, creators, and visionaries with multi-venture visions to align their brand, universe, and ecosystem with the vision that God has given them. And I activate the capacity that they need to govern their respective industries, culture, and realms. If this video activates you in any way, make sure you click the link in my description box below to join my newsletter. It's my private transmission chamber where founders, creatives, powerful leaders, and celebrities receive revelation-based guidance, governance codes, and strategic clarity for their multi-realm visions. This is part 5 of 6 for the governance archetypal system for multi-venture founders. You can access all 6 parts in my official playlist linked down below. And if you have watched part 4, the Empress, it will be linked. If you haven't watched part 4, the Empress, it will be linked down below as well. Anyways, let's get into the Empress archetype. Not the Empress, the High Priestess archetype. Anyways, the High Priestess is very dear to me. These last 2 archetypes are very dear to me because that is how God has revealed to me who I am through these archetypes. But this sentence will make more sense when I get into the last archetype, the Sovereign. But right now we'll talk about the High Priestess. But yes, the High Priestess is very dear to me because that's where I got my name, the Brand Priestess. The High Priestess is the guardian of the unseen architecture that powers the entire realm. So if the Emperor is the one, or if the Emperor or the King is the one who sets the structural parameters of a realm in ideology, in paradigm, and what's another one? Culture. And if the Queen and Empress are the ones who fulfill the realm with their aesthetics, their atmosphere, the atmospheric governance, etc., then the High Priestess, she is the energetic and spiritual barometer and nervous system and spine of the entire realm or realms. She is the one who governs alignment, destiny, truth, timing, and initiation. There is no archetype that we've talked about so far that can exist without the High Priestess. She or he is the Jonathan to their David. They are, what's a good example? They are, what's his name? Beyonce's bodyguard, is it Julius? Whatever his name is. Him to Beyonce, or I would say Miss Tina to Beyonce. I do believe that Miss Tina is a High Priestess. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. The High Priestess is a spiritual backbone for multi-venture empires and kingdoms. More often than not, you've heard the term prophets who are in churches, or you've seen astrologers with wealthy men, or you've been exposed to oracles with leaders. Every person in a high place has a High Priestess. You just may not know it yet. Another example would be Mike Todd and his mother. I know that's not a common term that you'll use in Christianity, but he is also surrounded by people who may not go by the name High Priestess, but that's their function. High Priestesses are typically someone's mother, sister, or wife, especially for men. Men who have wives always have a High Priestess. Doesn't matter if she's actualized or not, she's aware of who she is or not, she's the High Priestess for a man. The woman, or the one in the relationship who carries the feminine more dominantly, will always be the spiritual and energetic backbone in the relationship and in the realm that they govern together. So that includes motherhood. So whenever, you know that phrase when you hear people say behind every powerful man is an even more powerful woman? And how all the studies that show that men live longer when they're married, but women don't, it's because that's just the order of things. The feminine is the sustainer and giver of life. That's High Priestess work. But in a sense of governance, she does that on a macro scale. She does that for realms. So the people who are the kings, the queens, the emperors, and the empresses, they are governed by her. She is the one who keeps them in alignment. She is the one who initiates them. She is the one who makes them known to themselves, or she's the one that confirms who they are to themselves. She doesn't just lead people. It's rare for that, unless it's in like a micro scale, like when you have like smaller domains. But she's the one who leads the energetic, the ethical, and spiritual integrity of a space. Her governance may be invisible, but it's undeniable. It is undeniable. She is the one who activates rulers, founders, and leaders into who they are supposed to become. Kings govern structures, queens govern culture, emperors govern realms, empresses govern civilizations, but high priestesses govern the source that fuels them all. In a practical, worldly, founder-friendly sense, a high priestess founder is someone whose influence comes from revelation. They can see who someone is before the person knows it themselves. Atmosphere. Their atmosphere shifts people's identity and trajectory. Initiation. People step into higher realms of themselves after meeting them. And integrity, a blueprint. They define the why, the spirit, and the ethic behind an industry or a movement. That's why they always have to be partnered with a king, queen, an emperor, and empress. They have to partner with them. High priestesses are high priestesses are the stability. They're the stability of entire realms and domains. Without the high priestess, there is lack. There's also, I should also say, I've been saying up until this point, we need more governors. This is why God has called me to wake up the governors. But we also need to call the high priestesses forward. A lot of us have been ostracized from church. A lot of us has been the black sheep of the family. We have witch wounds. We've been improperly classified because we oftentimes sit higher than, not higher. Our jurisdiction is not higher. I don't want to use that word. I don't like hierarchy if you haven't noticed by now. But they sit in a kind of jurisdiction that governs the authority of all the other governors. And that's on purpose. So their mantle is weightier because they're the ones who are supposed to hold alignment for those who are governing all these realms. And because we don't have them, and because the governors that are available right now, like I've been mentioning Elon Musk, because they just lack integrity and connection to their own connection to source, they aren't being properly governed or guided or held. The high priestess sets the atmosphere for things to be in alignment. They hold the energetic atmosphere for all of us to be aligned. If you think in the Bible, you had the Levites. They were the priests. They were the ones that people came to be atoned, to be healed, and all those other things, right? Without them, the order is flipped. The structure of their environment flipped because they are the masters of alignment. They are the connection to source. And yes, we all follow along. I'm not going to explain myself. You understand what I'm trying to say. High priestesses also don't build brands. This is something that I had to understand. When your governance falls heavily in high priestessship, you don't build brands. You build temples, philosophies, atmospheres, and standards of consciousness. So now, do you understand why I always say that I don't build? Well, I'm not building a business, I'm building a temple. Why people's payment towards me is an offering instead of a transaction? This is why. A high priestess is here to consecrate, align, initiate, and awaken people who will run the businesses, empires, realms, and domains that we talked about before. So her business isn't a business. It falls under the archetype of a temple and an altar. And she's an atmosphere and a portal initiator. Like, her business is a portal and an atmosphere initiator, but she herself is a portal and atmosphere initiator. She is the governor of meaning, alignment, and destiny within a realm. So remember, the Empress is the one and the Empress and the Queens are the ones where people aspire towards an aesthetic and lifestyle, etc. The High Priestess is the one who sets the aspiration for destiny. So right now, what have we all been taught to aspire towards? Go to college, get a good job, and retire well. Have kids, get married. That was set by the high priestess of a realm a long time ago. There's a reason why we do these things. And all these things work together. Like we can blame patriarchy, capitalism. Every realm of thought and ideology has a spiritual custodian, like the high priestess, who maintains it. So you understand why Trump is moving the way he is. Anyways, the most important fact about the high priestess is that she is a revivalist. And if you are like me and you grew up in Pentecostal churches, you might hear revival and roll your eyes. I'm not talking about the revival where you're thrashing your head around, thumping your feet and falling out, and the pastor going on you and you falling out. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about a revivalist, someone who curates atmosphere for people to meet their destinies, people who shift the atmosphere of the container that they govern within so that they can get access to the presence of God, people who make it possible to meet God and be transformed and changed. They are catalysts and pinnacles of transformation. That's what a revival is. And I'll be talking about this more here and there. And I've been talking about it a little bit on my Feds account at the brand Priestess. So if you want to be privy to this topic a little bit more in the meantime, definitely follow me on there. But the revivalist is so important because it's a lost art. We are supposed to be able to come into contact with ourselves without having to just go to church. And I'll be talking about that a little bit too. But you can follow me on Threads in the meantime. But revival has lost its meaning. How many of you have gone to a revival at church and you spent the whole night there? You did a whole 24 hours and you left to go home the same. Maybe you were a little bit more disciplined. Maybe your prayers got a little bit stronger, but what really changed? The word transformation has lost its meaning in a lot of religious circles. Transformation just means changing your behavior, but it's not that at all. It is the complete molecular level rewiring of who you are. Your cells change, your brain changes, your soul and spirit change. That's transformation. And so the ones who are supposed to be spearheading this are the priestesses, and their impact is carried out through the other governors, and then the leaders and the influencers, and then the mothers and the fathers and the teachers and the people who govern within the smaller realms. And that's how it trickles in. Your core function is revival. Revival meaning transformation, transcendence, actualization, transfiguration. That is your department. The best example that I have for a high priestess is Mary Magdalene. She's my favorite. She was Jesus' high priestess. I won't get into that today, but definitely do your research. Another example possibly could be Lauryn Hill, Bob Marley, and Maya Angelou. So there are traits that make the high priestess distinct. The first one is that they hold spiritual and atmospheric governance, which means they govern people feel sense and awaken to when they enter their world. So this is exemplified when you walk into space and everyone turns to look at you. Or you can give a few words and everyone shifts, everybody. That's atmospheric governance. Another distinction is that they unlock rulers. They are the king makers, the queen makers, the emperor and empress makers, identity makers, realm makers. They don't produce followers. They're not the ones who have followers or civilians. They produce sovereigns. You stand toe-to-toe with other sovereigns. Those are your inner circle. Those are people that you will naturally deal with. Another distinction is their authority is not structural, cultural, it's metaphysical. So the high priest, the king says, here is structure. The queen says, here is culture. And the high priestess says, here is the truth, here is essence, here is the doorway. Another distinction is that they always act as a bridge. So they translate the unseen into systems that people can act on. So you're typically like an oracle. You're somebody who can, who's always receiving revelation that's just unfounded and bypasses the leaders that you have grown up with, especially in Christianity. And then the last distinction is when they create the internal alignment that makes external empires possible. So you don't rule the land, you rule the spirit that shapes the land. So you govern meaning, identity, initiation, ethics, atmosphere, destiny. And without the high priestess, the realm collapses, as we are seeing. patriarchy. I like to bring that up because I don't like it, if you haven't noticed already. So, how do you know that you are a high priestess? These are some diagnosable markers for you. The first one is people transform after being in your presence on an existential level. Their identity shifts. Oh, let me just say, I'm going to interrupt myself. If you're a high priestess and you are somebody who is in the marketplace, whether you're a service provider or someone who's selling products, I don't know, it is very unlikely that you're going to be in any other market but the luxury and premium market, and your prices must reflect that. I have a video titled what is it titled? The Energetics of Luxury Pricing. If you just type that into your search bar, you'll find it. But yeah, those are the realms that when it comes to physicality, those are the realms that you dominate. You'll find it very difficult to do anything outside of that. And if you do anything outside of that, there's a level of excellence that you would be ruling in just because you're the high priestess. But anyways, a marker or a diagnosable marker for you is that people transform after being around you. You can speak and rearrange someone's entire life. Your voice captivates, like you've been called a siren. Like people just fawn around you. Another example is you can see people calling more clearly than they do. Like you just know what they're here to do. The next marker is that you carry a distinct atmosphere. So people say things like, I don't know why, but I just see myself more clearly around you. I just get so much clarity when I'm around you. Or people might say that you just make me think so differently. Or whenever I'm around you, I feel like I'm stepping into a new version of myself. Or people might just say, I love your energy, I love your vibe. Or I just feel so good about myself when I'm around you. You're the high priestess. The next marker is that your work doesn't fit into typical categories. And this was for me for a long time. I didn't realize it, but you try to fit yourself into a coach and then a strategist and then a sales coach and a sales strategist, or I'm a beautician, but I'm really a mortician, but I'm actually a coach, or I'm actually a mentor, but I'm also a lawyer. Like everything just doesn't fit into one. Like you don't have one label that can really concretely describe who you are and what you do. And it's because your work is a sanctuary, an initiation, an activation, and a portal. That's what you are and what you do. It's just you don't have the words yet till today. And then the second to last marker is when you feel called to bless, initiate, activate, and consecrate leaders. So typically you meet people before they rise or before their greatness. You always come across people and then you check in on them a year later and they are great. They are successful, famous, whatever. Or you work with people in the middle of their rise, or you're somebody who you can identify the leader or the governance in somebody, and you may not have the words and say, oh, I know that they're a governor, but you speak to their essence, their spirit, and it activates them. That's how you know you're a high priestess. Another marker is your gift is revelation, not information. So your content, your words, your essence opens people and it shifts their reality. And you're not teaching somebody how to make $100,000 in 7 days. You're not teaching somebody how to get the perfect skincare. Your activation gives them perfect skin. Your activation makes them the $100,000. And then the last one is that your governance is spiritual, atmospheric, and energetic. It means that you don't deal with logistics. You deal with essence, source, alignment, and the why. You're always asking why. You're always going to the metaphysical side of things. Even if you're in very technical work, like let's say you're an engineer or something, like you're still always focusing on those things. Those are 7 ways that you can discern if you're a high priestess or not. But anyways, the high priestess is very important and she's often very forgotten. The awakening of the feminine that has been going on is the rise of the high priestess. How so many women have been able to find themselves within Mary Magdalene. Yeah, she's waking up. Anyways, this has been part 5 of 6 of my 6-part governance archetypal system series. Part 6, the sovereign, the last and final part will be linked down below for you to watch next. Anyways, I thank you for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.